Take your pick.
Well, don't you worry. We'll make some fucking picks here. And we're going to be picking them because welcome. It is Thursday evening and you're joining the UCF podcast predictions. We're going to be giving you who's going to be winning on that UFC Fight Night Louisville main card. And we're starting with the main event coming up this Saturday, Jared Cannonier versus Nassourdine Imavov. And this is not that exciting of a middleweight fight. If you had made this fight 1 or 2 years ago, I would have been a lot more excited for it. But Jared Cannonier is now 40 years old. And I just don't know how much pop he's going to have on his punches anymore. The flip side of that is that at 29 years old, I have never really seen Nassourdine Imavov look all that good. So when it comes down to it between these two, and I'm sorry to kind of just keep talking when I should have stopped there, but the biggest thing, the number one reason I'm going to pick Jared Cannonier is because I think of Jared Cannonier as more of a professional than Nassourdine. When you look at both of these guys fighting Sean Strickland, because I think it's the perfect fight to like compare them in. Nassourdine could not deal with constant pressure. Jared Cannonier could barely deal with constant pressure. He doesn't lose his composure as easily. He's more professional, and that's why I'm picking him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it's pretty simple mathematics. Imavov lost to Strickland. Cannonier just barely squeaked one by and won against Strickland. So, I mean, come on, dude.
Are you really going to use MMA math without the...
Yeah, dude. Transitive property. It works.
Not quite, but in this case, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see Imavov being able to go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think he will be outgunned in the punching department, and Cannonier is really good at dealing with kicks.
Yeah, like he's old. Cannonier's old, but I don't know. I feel like he's just going to have enough gas in the tank to deal with Imavov.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and
maybe not by a huge margin. I could see it being just one of those shitty fight night fights where it goes to decision.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance that that's what happens. Cannonier is never out of a fight. His worst fight he's ever had was against Israel Adesanya, but Adesanya had a whole run of terrible fights when he was champion. I don't really blame Jared Cannonier for that. Cannonier was able to deal with like Marvin Vettori after his title shot too, so he didn't fall apart after the title fight. I don't think there's a lot that Nassourdine can do that's really going to bother Jared. So yeah, we're both picking Jared.
We're going with Cannonier.
Hell yeah, and we're both going to be right.
Name too, so.
Yeah, and I didn't even pull up their stats there real quick. 17-6 for Cannonier. It's been a long record. 13-4 for Nassourdine. U.S. versus, I guess he's Russian now. Russian and French. Cannonier is significantly shorter, has significantly longer reach. He has higher punching power. I don't really expect a knockout, but if there is going to be a knockout, Cannonier will be the one doing it. Anyways, moving on to our co-main events, and what a co-main it is.
Like, what the fuck is this, man?
Dominic Reyes versus
Dominic Reyes has not won a fight in this decade.
Correct. And we're halfway through this decade, just about.
We're just about halfway through.
Yeah. Dominic Reyes has a really tragic story in the UFC. Before we started the podcast official, I went into a whole rant about it. Maybe I'll edit it in here, but the short version is... he had a run at the title. He had the best title fight against John Jones anyone had seen up until that point. Most people, including myself, thought Reyes won that fight. He's been knocked out 4 times since then and has never looked the same.
I think it's only 3 times, actually.
Are you sure about that?
You're a fake-ass Reyes fan. I think so.
Ooh, no, you're right, actually, because it's 4 losses, but it's 3 knockouts.
Yeah, like Jones was he was the first of the loss streak, but...
Yeah. Now, what do you know about Dustin Jacoby?
He's one of those guys who wins fights and then loses them, kind of just back and forth, and they just slot him in occasionally when they have a fight night going on.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the most interesting fact about Dustin Jacoby is that he used to be a really good kickboxer, and then he kind of matured out of that, moved on to MMA. He's had mixed success at light heavyweight. Sometimes he looks like he knows what he's doing. Sometimes he just gets completely outmuscled. I can't pick Dominic Reyes. I don't
This
think there's a
is
man
the hardest
alive.
one.
I don't think there's a man alive who can pick Dominic Reyes, but Dustin Jacoby is so hittable. What you need to look for on Fight Night is whether or not Reyes' hairline has receded past the 50% line of his head. If it's gone that far, there's just no hope.
Yeah, do not cancel all bets.
Cancel all bet. No, I'm
Call your credit card company.
I am betting. I'm not betting, but I'm picking Dustin Jacoby. I just don't see a route to victory for Reyes anymore. He gets knocked out every time he gets hit. He looks so apprehensive on the feet. He doesn't look like he's hurting dudes. It's crazy, too, because there was a time when old man Jared Cannonier was at light heavyweight and he got knocked out by Dominic Reyes. And if you had Dominic Reyes weigh in at light heavyweight and fight middleweight Jared Cannonier, I don't think he would win anymore. So just bizarre.
Yeah, I think this is just like the last hurrah. This is a guy who had a shot at one point, and so they discard him, and this is the discard fight. I'm going to give it to Jacoby.
Yep, absolutely. Now, continuing down this
the Zoomer versus Millennial
card.
War.
That's right. While I do personally stand on the side of the Millennial, I cannot pick the Millennial in this fight. Ricky Tercios has, I believe, only won via split decision in the UFC. He won his season of The Ultimate Fighter and has never looked good since. I don't even know. Sometimes he looks like he has some interesting striking and grappling. Other times he looks like he is rolling around on the ground at dare I say, at a bus station. So I can't pick him. I cannot pick him.
I think this is a bit of a feed to the Zoomer Rosas Jr. That should be his nickname. It should be the Zoomer.
Yeah, instead of something edgy like it is.
Yeah. I think this is a bit of just like a feeding, maybe a win to this guy. I really don't see Tercios. I don't know. He doesn't look like he has that much going for him. He's a little bit older. He doesn't seem to have really ever solidified a serious game plan in any real capacity. And I think he's just going to get probably, if I had to guess, I think he's probably going to get submitted, but maybe not. Maybe look at a decision.
I would guess KO. I think Raul Rosas has had a few by KO, hasn't he?
Maybe. I don't know. He seems like more of a takedown guy, honestly, but.
Yeah, he had.
I don't know what he is outside of the UFC, but he's got a KO, TKO, and a submission for his wins.
Yes. I remember seeing more KOs from him, but yeah, he does have 5 wins by a submission and only 2 by knockout. So I guess we'll have to see what he brings to the table on Saturday. But yeah, both of us pretty confidently picking Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah.
Before that, more middleweights. We have Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. This is an interesting one to me a little bit because both of these guys aren't that good. And
I think we just said that now. How many
there's a lot of, basically this card is a UFC 50% off sale.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of it. They're getting rid of them.
Yeah, we've enlisted the E tier.
They've got to go.
And they're all just going to punch each other, and whoever loses is out. Whoever wins stays in E tier.
Exactly. Now, Bruno Ferreira has had a setback in the UFC, but otherwise he's had pretty much exclusively KOs for his wins. And Dustin Stoltzfus has not had a real KO on his record since he was in the German MMA championships in 2019 or something. So I personally am picking Bruno Ferreira just based off of the fact that Dustin Stoltzfus hasn't got anything going in his UFC career thus far. He's traded wins and losses pretty consistently. He doesn't have a whole big bunch of KO power, which means that he hasn't figured out a way to keep guys off of him. And even if your game plan is not to KO your opponent, just something so important for you to have is something to scare your opponent. Because if he is afraid of something that you can do, he's not going to be fighting in his best. So if you don't have something to show your opponent that keeps them off of you, they can do whatever they want throughout the fight. And that, I think, translates to a pretty easy Bruno Ferreira KO.
Yeah, I'm trying to find any reason to disagree with you. I don't know. He's just, it's in a tough spot. I think maybe he has a little more experience, I guess. That counts. That is not worth nothing. I mean, like they're like the same age, so they probably have same amount of experience outside of the UFC. But in the UFC, Stolfus has more experience.
Yeah.
He's also a little bit taller. You ever think about that?
I have.
A little bit more reach.
Really, what's going to decide this one is whether or not Dustin can take down Bruno, and whether or not he can keep him there. And my guess is no. My guess is that Bruno is like both physically stronger on the feet and probably in grappling, because again, he's Brazilian, so he started out in jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah, he was born. He came out of the womb grappling the umbilical cord. So
damn right, submitted his mom.
Yeah, probably gonna go with Ferreira.
Okay, all right, awesome. We're in agreement. Moving on.
We're so smart.
Yo, we just know.
You just know.
We have Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is a good fight name, versus Zachary Reese, who I forget his fight name. I think it's lame. This is another one of those fights where both of these guys are coming off of losses. I think both of them got KO'd in their last loss. Just like with UFC 302, what I have to say is that like how you get KO'd matters. If you get KO'd because you were dropping your hands, because you were leaving yourself open for a head kick, these are things that you could improve. If you get slam KO'd, are you just supposed to never attempt submissions on your back ever again? Are you supposed to give up on whole portions of the game? It's just like so demoralizing to realize that other people in the division can pick you up and slam you on your head and you didn't do anything about it. So based on that alone, I also look at the frame of Zachary Reese and I look at the frame of Julian Marquez, and I know that Marquez likes to wrestle when he runs into trouble on the feet, and I just don't think Reese is going to stop him if he goes for a takedown. So I'm picking Marquez in this one.
Yeah. I mean, again, like if we want to go into cope mode, which I suppose I have to, there is a little bit of height, a little bit of a reach advantage for Reese. I don't know, like maybe. He's got a couple submission wins. It's not like he doesn't know how to grapple at all.
But that's like exactly my point, is that like he has submission wins and he was on his back, working off of his back when he got slam KO'd. So are you supposed to give up on that?
Well,
portion?
just don't get slam KO'd. It's like riding a bike. It's like the opposite of riding a bike. You do it once, it never happens again.
Or just like last weekend, the guy who was slam KO'd is going to lose his next fight. So
I'm probably going to go with Marquez just because, like I don't want to be the contrarian and then pick the guy who's obviously going to lose. But hey, maybe if Reese wins, we look stupid, right?
Yep. And actually, let it be known that on this card we have, in fact, a couple of times picked the guys with a reach disadvantage. So it's not unilateral. You can't always just fucking minds. You can't just base everything off of it.
Throw away the key.
So before that, the first fight on our main card this weekend is Miguel Baeza versus Punahele Soriano. I remember liking Baeza in a fight a long time ago, thinking he looked kind of good, and then he went on like a 3-fight KO loss streak. Punahele Soriano is in a similar boat where I thought he was pretty good. He has like killer power in his hands. Like he actually does. He still does, and he can throw with a lot of intensity. The problem is that Punahele relied on his chin when he got to the UFC, so he was trading punches, and eventually he just ran into guys with better chins and harder punches. So he stopped being able to trade those punches, and he went on a bit of a skid at middleweight. So he's now doing what a lot of guys do when they're running into trouble in their own division. They're going to cut weight and try something new. So he's cutting down. He's going down to a 170, which makes sense. I mean, he's 5'11". The average height of a UFC division gets taller and taller with every passing year. So 5'11" makes sense to cut down to 170. Between these two, I really just don't trust Miguel Baeza to not get knocked out. So I'm going to be picking Punahele Soriano in this.
Oh, I was going to pick Soriano.
Oh, I'm sorry. You should have gone first.
Look, here's the thing. One of two options is going to happen, okay?
Yeah.
Either this is going to be a lame-ass fucking punch each other split decision fest, or knockout in first round. There's going to be no middle ground. There's going to be no rhyme or reason for the knockout. It's not going to be some like excellent play. It's just going to happen because someone's chin is just glass all of a sudden. And I feel like Soriano is probably going to get there first. If someone gets there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just hard to disagree with you. A lot of these fights are, they're not mismatches necessarily, but oftentimes when you put two guys that are both coming off of losses against each other, one of those losses looks worse than the other. One of those guys looked more limited than the other guy did. And really, unless a guy goes back to the gym and completely reinvents himself or starts doing things that you haven't seen before, it's tough to pick against what you know. So, lightning round with the prelims. Thiago Moises versus Ludovic Klein. No, we're not looking into them. I'm picking Klein. Lightning round.
Moises got an accent on his E.
Hell yeah. Before that, Charles Radke versus Carlos Prates. I'm picking Prates.
I'm gonna go Radke.
Awesome. Before that, we have Andrea Lee versus Montana De La Rosa. I'm picking De La Rosa because Andrea Lee is old.
Andrea P, more like, I'll do De La Rosa.
Before that, we have Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. I really don't believe in Brad Katona, but he's Canadian, so I have to pick him.
Butler's going to win.
Okay, so there's our one disagreement.
Hey, we got a few.
Before that, we have... This is like a huge fight card, by the way, guys.
There's a lot.
No one is going to watch this.
Bin.
No one is going to watch this fight card, and the best fights will be in the prelims because that's where some of the
That's how
newer
it
guys
always is,
at.
baby. Don't even watch main cards anymore. Just watch prelims.
Well, unless, your favorite fighter is retiring, then you probably watch the main card.
Yeah, like Dustin Boy.
Oh, dude, I'm still sad. Anyways.
Oh, he brought it up.
Oh, fuck, dude. John Castaneda versus Daniel Marcos. I don't know either of these guys. I'll pick the dude from Peru.
Okay. I'll do Marcos too.
Eduarda Moura versus Denise Gomez. I'm gonna go. Ooh.
You're gonna Gomez.
I was about to say Gomez, but I honestly don't even have a read on this one. I will just say Gomez because she has white hair.
Moura's gonna win.
Before that, this is the one fight out of all these prelims that I actually have a real opinion. Taylor Lapillus is going to beat Cody Stamann. Cody Stamann hasn't looked good in a very long time. And we have what is potentially the funniest mismatch in reach in UFC history. We actually have 8.5 inches of reach advantage going to one fighter when both guys are the exact same height. That's Looney Tunes amounts.
That is pretty funny, yeah.
I'm not going to measure, but I would be surprised if Taylor's arms are not as long literally as his legs. So I haven't looked into this guy at all, but I know Cody Stamann kind of sucks, and there's no way in hell he wins. So
easy Lapillus pick.
Easy. And before that, we have Ryan Dos Santos versus Pooja Tamor. We got a girl from India. I'm going to root for her.
I mean, Dos Santos will probably win, but yeah, maybe the India girl will win.
All right. Well, those have been all of our picks, including the ones you should probably ignore for Fight Night. Cannonier versus Imavov. Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna force people to listen.
We'll do the whole thing next time, guys. I swear.
If it's good. But yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed our picks. They're probably right. Have a great rest of your week and
don't forget to love women.
Yeah, never forget.
We love women.
To love women.
Love women.